Okay, we're now out in my workshop, people. Despite seeing all the shadows on the board. These photos that you can see here, this one is actually printed in reverse on purpose because it matches up to the same photo on the next module this way. These two shots here are at the other end of the layout but reused. My printer, well, it wasn't still not necessarily the best, but despite its minor faults, this is that section that you saw earlier on my website on the layout page. So that's all as it was seen at the 2019 AMRA Model Train Exhibition. And what I'm showing you here, this is the aluminium section, which is the cantilevered lighting. There's on my wire, well not all of it, but some of it. And this is how I've got the back end of it. So hopefully you'll be able to see that. My hand might be too much in the way. So when I put this in place, the idea is that this would basically lock in place. It's made tight on purpose so it doesn't have too much flex to it. There we are. That's now installed. That's how quick and easy that is. Now the LED strip is not in here at the moment. There are special metal clips that I've got. There they are. Maybe that's a test wire to this module. Well, it goes to all modules actually. That birds sound happy outside. Okay, what I've done is something you might want to try do at home with your own layout. Okay, we're going to pull out two of these. I'll try to bring these up to the camera. Hopefully you might be able to see what I've done. You may, yeah, there if we get the background in. And all that is a bit of MIG welding wire. So if you can get a hold of someone with a MIG welder, there you go. Might be a bit hard to see, but generally speaking, using MIG welding wire you can make up these silly little clips. Well, not silly, they're very useful actually. And all I do, oops, that's upside down, that slots into the back here. I'll get another piece of aluminium. Now I do have a few offcuts. If I can do it this way for you, you can see that hopefully. Just angle my viewfinder to see. That's the angle aluminium that I'm using up here. This, just like a bobby pin, goes in place. That's how the LED lighting is held in place. So if I put another one in, you know it won't go that way. But just like a standard bobby pin style of design, goes there, straight on. So that's how the LED light strip is held in place. Dead simple, didn't take me too long to work it out. And you can buy, well, you can go and buy a roll, but why buy a roll if you know someone with a MIG welder and they come to the end of the roll and they just wasted about 3-4 metres worth? You might as well get it for nothing if they're going to be throwing it out. So rolling mobbing done on the cheap, you might say. So what I've done, got one of these Glad bags with a little sliding clip. And there's a whole bag full of them. So those, so I don't lose them, they might as well stay here. So I hope you like this side of things. Yeah, basically, let's see if I can just adjust this thing. Yeah. Bear with me a sec. I've actually got the camera on a tripod today instead of hand holding it. But this will give you a general overview. Yes, I've got a lot of junk in the background, but who has a pristine workshop? Seriously, if you've got a pristine workshop, you're not working hard enough. So generally with that, you can see what I call the lighting rig. See the backdrop? Yes, it does have a shadow at the moment, but when the lighting rig is lit up and on, basically you don't see that shadow. Now this is basically one of many photographic modules that I now have, and the idea, as I say, 1 foot wide, that's your bookshelf width. Your 1 foot high is taken from about here. Oh, I can't see. Bear with me, I'll just get the camera adjusted. There you are. Now I'm using 42mm by 19mm for there and there, because that's a good standard size. So a 305mm across. Oops, sorry, I've just bumped my camera. Right, so 305mm from the front to the back, or 1 foot, and then basically the same to the top. So realistically speaking, you know, when we take 1 foot by 1 foot, or 305 by 305, the overall length of this module is 1.2 meters, or 4 foot. So I'm trying to work it both metrically and imperially for you, and this will give you an idea what can be achieved. So the rails that are up the guts here, which are the check rails, those are all just old scrap rail. I've bent the ends as per the full size would be, as guides, and it's all just basically super glued in place. The track's actually nailed down with 1/2-inch panel pins, but the ballast work, I was able to do all the ballast work myself. You can go to the garden centres here in Australia, get what's called cracked dust. Cracked dust is very fine powder from the blue metal crushing. So where you get road base will also do the job. Road base is perhaps even finer. So the cracked dust is part of the, you might say, the offshoot, byproduct, whatever, for blue metal and road base. Okay, if I can bring my camera around here. Actually, I might just take this off the tripod for the moment. Quick release. There we go, peoples. Now, I'm hand holding the camera now. So at least with this, I'm going to come around over here, so put you in amongst it a bit. So there's my check rails. I've got a bit of rubbish on my track. Doesn't need to be there. Okay, so that will give you the idea. Yep, when it comes to doing little areas like for hand carts, inspection vehicles, bit of balsa wood, pencil. I'm using a sharp pencil normally. This one was a blunt one at the time. Pardon me. I was able to scribe in the plank marks, and then just put down some grey paint, thinned out with thinners. You can see there, bit of thinners and some grey paint, Humbrol paint. Forget now what colour it was, but yeah, generally. Here we go. That's the road bed. It's like a synthetic sponge. That's what I'm using. If you need to pull it up, you can pull it up. You can buy this stuff by the roll. You can buy it pre-cut in strips. I'll remember the name of the place in a moment. But you can get it through various hobby shops in New South Wales and here in Western Australia. So this will give you a general idea. This is one part of Wombat Flats. So when you look at Wombat Flats here on YouTube, when you look at the layout page, oops, I'm going down here too far. When you look at this on my website, you probably won't see it in the same way you're seeing it here. Yeah, I've got some underneath detail, not much, it's minimal. But the idea is to look as realistic as possible. Long grass, I can't remember if that was an old broom, yeah, floor broom with the bristles cut short. But yeah, certainly the way I've got all this done. I've even got a sign. This is the back of the sign, bit of plastic, 2 bits of matchstick. So if you got a matchstick, cut it down in half, dig it into your styrofoam. So that's basically how I've done the construction on all this. Underneath all here is styrofoam, coloured plaster on top, and the green colour scatter material. On top of the scatter material, I've just laid other material on top of that. And even my wing walls, Now these wing walls or retaining walls, they're also just straight out balsa. I've done it so the grain of the balsa is horizontal, and that way it runs with the planks. And all the planks are just scribed with a pencil. So then I've got matchsticks for the vertical supports. That'll give you an idea. So even underneath the bridge. So if I can bring you, the viewer, up close and personal with this, then great. So when you take a photo, you got a fairly realistic backdrop. Even if you blank out the join, well, mostly. By the time you take photos, you can take a photo from this angle or any other angle. So this will give you some idea what can be achieved. Now this is HO scale. I'll just show you this sign over here. There is no actual wording on it yet. The plans are to put a title on there. It'll be printed up on the computer if I can get the print small enough. So yeah, this is one part of Wombat Flats. That's the floodway module. And for a bookshelf, well, that was the idea, to make it as part of a bookshelf. So hoping I'm not boring you too much on this. And I'm going to squeeze around into here. Yes, there's a pile of junk, there's bits and pieces. Yeah, my workshop, my workbench is generally a mess most of the time. It does get cleaned up, but generally it's a mess with so many different projects on the go. I'm going to come down to this neck of the woods. Now these here are what you would call a rolling road. Also be classed as a dyno. Now this is another handy tool to have in the workshop. And some people have emailed me asking what are the best tools to use. Well, I'm going to start up here because I've got the old H&M clipper, or singlet, because there's dual versions called a duet. You can see here I've got a pair of cutters, fine pliers, a long nose pliers, toothbrush. That's an old toothbrush. Then these things get old and tatty, don't always throw them out. Use them for cleaning, cleaning out muck and crap out of your mechanisms. I've got a whole series of different rulers, scale rulers and full-size rulers. Screwdrivers are a handy must, because you never know what size screw you're going to encounter. Depends if it's the government's going to screw you or not. There's an 8060 class Garrett, not ever finished. Started it in the mid 2005 area, I think it was. That'll be a loco when it gets completed. That's got a tow mix mechanism under it. Same mechanism as I used on the New South Wales rail cars, 62720s. Again, as from previous videos that may have been seen, that'll become a 35 class. That'll become a C36 an HO scale. Yeah, good of an Elco plate that I was handed. Eventually the N-scale 36 will get completed. But as far as this particular video, I'll put this up here. It's not going to sit properly yet until I mount it properly. This is a DJH kit. So I do build kits for people, and then it's up to them as to what sort of loco it is that they want me to build. If I can get this to sit right. This one is a 210O. Despite my bad camera work at the moment. You can see some of the detail. Typical of DJH. Each brass sides, white metal castings. With the wheels, you generally have to put a bit of brass wire in to make it live. There we go. You can see the brass pin next to the axle. They're generally supplied with a Northwest Shortline gearbox and a Mishima motor. Now I'm going to try to switch things on without get the camera work too shaky. Now, with the DJH kits, they're generally live to one side. just got to remember which side I've got to put power to. Maybe just be a pain in the bum. Bear with me a sec while I fumble around here. I've picked the wrong wire up with me. There we go. So I've assembled all this from the instructions so far. Just so you can get a clearer view of what's actually happening up here. She's running quite sweet, realistically speaking. Flat out. And right down. Isn't it great just to watch the wheels go around? Watch all the valve gear. Let's come down in amongst it. I'm privileged at the moment to be building this for somebody. He's given me three previous engines. This is the fourth in his collection that needed building. I'd love to have this finished by December 2019, but I don't think it will happen. Might be January 2020. That is rolling beautiful. So if you want to call it a dyno or rolling road, that's up to you. You can see how it sits. And these ones are made by Bachmann. Some people pronounce it Bachmann. It's actually supposed to be pronounced as Bachmann. Let's have a look from down here. So you get to see how they are working. Just to help you feel part of it. So yeah, at least with that, this is one of many projects. I won't get the Z scale out yet. I'll just come to that stop for a moment. Now, the bodywork that's got to go onto it is there. And as always, whoops, let's try to get into here, try to get focus, there we go. There's usually a heap of cab detail. There's a heap to go into this one. That's just the basics without all the detail added. But generally, all your dimples are there, and then you drill out the dimples and put your handrails in, your pipes, your castings and everything else. So that's generally how it looks. Chassis sides, front buffer beam, and that's the body to go on this French 210. After I get this completed, I've got to then build the tender. So generally, out here in my workshop, I've usually got a lot of projects on the go. I've got another project which I'd like to show you, so bear with me while I change camera positions. Okay, with the camera now repositioned, my viewfinder sorted out. For those of you who have a model railway, and as most of you will find, at some point on any layout there'll be a model train crossing. So let's have a look at this. That's a simple flashing unit, nothing much to it. It's powered off by train control at the moment. This is a set of German type train crossings, or level crossing lights. bear with me a sec. Okay, sorry about that. There's a slight jump there in the video, but I have to quickly stop it. Untangle myself as far as the wiring is. So yeah, generally there is the German style, European style train crossing lights. A simple flashing unit. And basically what happens is power comes in on those two wires, through the capacitors, through the diodes, through the counter, which is the IC, comes back through everything and back out on these three here. One is your common, the other two are the lights actually flash. Depending how you wire them up, it'll depend on whether you get the European style or Australian style. If I energise this off the train control, you can sort of see there the lights are flashing. Now for those of you who are technically challenged as far as electronics is concerned, I've come up with another way of doing it. Now if I come up to here a bit, and actually I might zoom in using the camera. Bear with me a minute, there we go. Now with this is a cheaper alternative. So if you're going to, if you're really good at electronics, go for it, you know. So that's the front of the circuit, and from the back. So if you're good at electronics, yeah, go for this, because this is about between, I suppose, $5 and $10 to make. And if you know somebody who can do etch onto circuit boards for tracks, yeah, go for it. And there's a few books around which actually have these circuits as to how to make them. It's been a while since I've made my own one. This one was given to me because it didn't work. Well, it turns out the one of the power input wires was missing anyhow, but there was a dry joint. Found the dry joint, got it working again. So that was a simple fix. Not always this simple, but there is an alternative that I've made up. This will be going onto my HO scale layout. It doesn't look quite as flash. Looks bulky. Yep, it's more expensive, but here's an alternative. So that there is a standard electronic flashing control. Now if I can zoom this one out, yep, there we go. This one here that I've made up does the exact same job. It's noisier, but for those of you who are more electronically challenged, try this one. I'm just going to disconnect this one for the moment. Right, so that's my power leads disconnected. Now, just going to make sure I get the right wires on the right pieces. Now, for those of you who are more mechanically minded, more than electronically, let's get my leads sorted out up here. On my train control I use the alligator clips. Fortunately this bit of plastic is kind of rock hard, makes it almost impossible to connect and disconnect. Actually, before I fire this thing up, that's one of my homemade level crossing units. It's been a bit damaged. Now I'll bring this on up for you. The light post isn't quite finished. There's a boom gate arm to go on there and everything else. But that's what happens when things get dropped on the floor and things get crushed and whatever else. But inside here, if I take this all out the way, yep, there goes my light. Okay, that's the front of it. By the time I finish it'll be a lot tidier. Two LED lights share the common post as the common through, and each light has a wire that runs down the back. So you can sort of see there, the common's green or earth, come to the brass post, and then both LED lights come off there. So that's why I'm doing my lights. So basically it's Australian style. Inside this box you can see there's a motor. Well, let's take this lucky band off here for now. The elastic band's only there temporarily anyhow. and there's the inside. Now, for those of you around the world, but even here in Australia, JCar Electronics, these gearhead motors has the motor and gearbox together. Onto here I've made an offset wheel. It's only made up using layers of plastic. And to make the oscillator, all I've done, I'll put a micro switch in. I don't know if you can see that too well, but the micro switch is perhaps a little more clearer seen here. Now the micro switch, all it does is switch on and off. But in the way it does it, so I can bring this in for you. It's actually the main part that does the oscillating. So I'm using the common. I'll try to explain to you in the best way that I can. If I let all this dangle loose. The two power leads coming in on the red and black power the motor. If I want the motor to run a particular direction, in this case it's going to be running that way around. So through the gears this slows right down. So this is spinning at high rev, it's at low. I've got these pieces of plastic I've cut. I made a little tunnel entrance type of thing so it goes around the motor. Occasionally this still has a room to move, and up here this front panel also comes out. It's also got a recess around the front. So if this motor still has a little bit of movement, these won't flash the way I want them. But it is adjustable. Seriously, it is adjustable. This resistor, the 470 ohm resistor, that comes in off the mains, and that cuts power down to 3 volts for the LEDs. So 12 volts in, through the resistor, it goes to the common of the LEDs. And from the LEDs, there's also a common running to the micro switch. So the LED is getting its power through that. So all the micro switch is doing is oscillating between one and the other. So with this, when the micro switch is active, one light's on. When it's disactive or inactive, the other light comes on. Simple oscillator. Now with this, it's something I've designed for those who are more electronically challenged and those who really don't know what they're doing when it comes to electronics. Now depending on where you live in the world, depending on what is available to you, this could be a great alternative. In Australia, this probably, the motor, gearhead motor will set you back probably about $15 to $20 odd Australian, plus the LEDs, plus the box, plus your time and effort. And the box does come with screws, you can see by the lid. And it's got little mounting holes. Screws go into the 4 corners. So the elastic band is only a temporary measure. But by the time that's in place and working, you got yourself a simple level crossing flashing unit. Yes, it is noisy. Yes, it is more expensive than the electronic version. But if you can't do the electronic version, this is your alternative. Now I'm going to have to put this to one side for the moment, so I can energise the master. Move the LEDs out the way. Just move the camera down a bit so you can see it. See what I'm doing down here. Okay. Whee! Still got full 12 volts on, haven't I? Clown. Yep. Now if I can do this for you. Let's have a look at how it's done. This is the main actuating part. That's your simple oscillator at work. Right, so the only moving part is the motor and the gears inside. This offset wheel, what I'm doing is switching the micro switch on and off, and there's the end result. If I adjust it one way or another, I can adjust it hopefully to do what it's supposed to do. Admittingly at the moment it's not running properly, because it just means I've got to get this further out or further in to activate it properly. Just bear with me a moment. You bugger. Yeah. I'll put a bit more pressure onto it. It'll start oscillating properly. It's all part of the adjustment. Doesn't matter. It's a test run. But wired off the back of the LEDs through to here are the output leads, which look at the joins here. So these are just an indicator. So when it's underneath the train set, there'll be an indicator to show that there is power coming out. And there's what you'd see above board. All you've got to do is wire up your pairs of lights, wire them together, wire them back to this, and there's this simple LED flasher. All I've got to do is adjust the micro switch where it should be, and it flashes nice. That sorted itself out by the looks of things. It's simple. People like me can build them. People like you can build them. Unless you want to be more technical, unless you want to be more advanced, perhaps, whatever you want to call it, this is an alternative. A bit more expensive, yes, as you can hear, a lot noisier, but it indicates that you can achieve it, you can do it. It's a simple mechanical or electromechanical level crossing flashing unit. Alright, so that's something I really wanted to show to you in this video. There you go. Shut this noisy thing off for now. But at least for those of you who find electronics a bit daunting, those of you who find electronics a bit out of your league, that is an alternative. So I can do the drawings up for you, show you what I've done. This isn't on my website at the moment. It's something I've done specifically as a YouTube thing. But the box itself, let's give you some idea. I get my ruler out. The box is about 5.5 centimeters in width. That is also about 8.5 centimeters long. So for those that are doing metric, so I take that out of the way, get another ruler with imperial. For those of you working in imperials, it's just over 3 inches, well, 3/4 inches long, and it's about 2 inches wide, well, just over 2 inches wide. The depth, if you want to go imperial depth, it's just over 1 inch in depth. And if I go metrically speaking, about 30, yeah, 32, 34 mil. So realistically, it's another project for you at home to watch and see if you can achieve it. I reckon you can. So when it comes to railway modelling, I hope this inspires you. So I'm going to take you outside in the next camera shot, and with the next camera shot I'll show you a bit of my 7 1/4 inch. Back in a moment. Well, here we are outside Bumblebee Mark 1. Something I built in 1997 to year 2000. 3 years of building it over the period of time of designing and all that. And you get to see this on my website in the 7 1/4 inch page, or the right on page as it's called. Now, the first creation I ever did in 7 1/4, and needs to be cleaned up because every December, or certainly December 2017 and 2018, I used it for hauling Christmas trains. That is, during the Christmas season, 1st of December to New Year's Eve. The house is done up with Christmas lights, so you can see the lights hanging off the train at the moment. That was the first project, and there's my second project, which is its dedicated carriage. That's also got Christmas lights on it. I've only just uncovered it a few moments ago specifically for the video, so that's why the tarp sitting behind it's in a bit of a mess. This has 10-speed bike mechanism. So I've got 5 high gears, 5 low gears, forward reverse gearbox. It's got brakes and suspension. With my track, it took me about 16 years of getting everything all together. This is just some of my 7 1/4 inch track. And right about here where the pathway comes through from the shed, this is where my train crossing is going to be. There will be multiple rails through here, so it'll be like a cattle grate for those like farming people. You'd understand what a cattle grate is. And up here along my back fence, there's my station platform. Yes, I do have a length of track sitting on the platform. The idea is that piece goes in my trailer for when I'm transporting my rail car. So yes, this goes up behind the workshop. And of course, yes, started building a level crossing. That's as far as it ever got. That's the main post. Up here where the cross part is, that's where the lights are going to hang on to it. The crossing sign, everything's going to go up there, including the boom gate. So, with this in mind, move past all my bricks and stuff. So this is in my backyard. There's 47 metres worth of miniature railway. It's taken me forever to get it done. And with the garden arch for Christmas time, the black shade cloth onto it. The idea of that is basically that's where I stop the trains during the Christmas night runs. So, nighttime running in through the Christmas lights. Let's go have a look. I'll change camera position. This is a view from the other side of the garden arch. I'll be doing this back up properly again. It's just a bit of a heap of mess at the moment. A couple of days ago with some very high winds, gusting about 60 to 80 odd kilometres an hour. Destroyed a lot of things. Made a mess of all this, so it's just been loosely chucked back together. There's my station down the back. With my track, eventually the whole lot will be like this here. The 2 outer rails you can see is 7 1/4 inches. To the inner rail on the right hand side, which is, let's see, there, that's the 5-inch gauge. In the middle is a 3.5 inch. But the funny thing is, on, where's my hand gone? There's my hand. These 2 rails here is perfect for G scale, which is, it's about 48mm worth, but 45mm is G scale. So 7 1/4 inch on the outside, 5 inch from the outer to the inner, 3.5 inch from the inner, and then your G scale on the end. So I can quite literally run 4 different gauge of trains. So spin up past on my junk pile. All my track goes right through that side gate around to my front yard. Now basically, I'm just going to uncover this for you, or partly. Okay, right, snap in the Christmas lights. Even all this copper hammering the other day, all in threads. Okay, I'll come back out of the way of the camera shot now. This is the power car of my 7¼ inch rail car set. It's still in the progresses of being built, but this will give you an idea of it in the rough form. Got the vertical sides, that's 500mm from the floor to the top of the wall. It's 500mm wide, and the length of this carriage is 3 metres. So if you want to convert that to imperial, go for it. So with this, it is progress. There's a lot of work to go on this yet. Sitting up on its work stand. I'll just zoom in a bit. The couplings are fitted to both ends already. I do need to make the carriage bogies. They've been started on. The 2 lengths of steel you can see sitting near the lower end. They are what I will call the waist rail. It sits around the waistline. Gives it that bulging side effect. Underneath, see where I've made the steps. All underneath there will end up having side panels to hide all the queen posts and truss rods. There'll be a toolbox actually mounted up underneath there. But this will be the driving car or power car. Couplings are fitted on both ends, and in a moment we'll take another camera shot from the other end looking back. I've actually made a start on the driver's cab. A project I've been basically handed recently is an 064 tank engine chassis. So that'll get rebuilt. It's a good restoration project, and eventually I'll end up buying that completely off the guy, and because he's umming and ahhing whether he's going to keep it or not. But that's sitting on the 7¼ inch track. Don't worry about the lawnmower throttle control. Somebody had an attempt at making it electrically driven. I want to change all that. So let's go take a view from the other end. Okay, here we go with a different camera shot. So I'll just uncover the front end a bit more. And as you see, take these things off. You see here, this part of the cab floor, bit of steel, a bit more to go in underneath. And there's the hidden or highway retractable coupling that'll go in underneath the nose of the loco, or rail car I should say. But it can tuck in that side or that side, or it'll be out for use of being pulled or pushed. This will be the driver's compartment up here. The headlights will be up here, panel will slope back, and this will have plenty of room to not only swing around when it's needed, but also be able to tuck away when it's no longer needed, and the panel will come down to hide it. So that will give you some idea. It's only a start at this stage. but for what it is, I've got big plans for it. So if you look at my other YouTube video on the mini rail car test run at Kerner Park, you'll see how it's going to look. I'm just going to angle down now for the moment. This is the 7¼ inch chassis that I've got as a restoration project. Now basically it's running very, very tight on these rails. I like to believe the gauge is wrong. Certainly the way the wheel flange has been done maybe. There's super tightness in the chassis. It's a lot of effort to push and say, well, okay, there's not a great deal there, but it shouldn't be binding as bad as it is. So for an 064, this chassis is going to take a lot of restoration work. I have to strip these side rods off it. I'm going to have to take the wheels out, check the bearings, check the axles, check the back-to-back dimensions. So I can check all that out and find out why it's binding so badly, and then get it cleaned up and painted. But hopefully, once I get that bit of work done, if I can convince the guy who owns it to sell it to me, I'll buy it off him. It needs Sumoco cylinders at the front. We're looking at it from the front end at the moment. So as an 064, just needs the cylinders, needs the main linkage rods made up, put in place. Takes that throttle nonsense off the back end and the other bracket, and will make it a bit more presentable and acceptable. Okay, going on from here, during Christmas this area becomes a tunnel of lights. So just briefly, I'm going to look up here at the shade cloth, and this will be just nothing but lights through here. Don't worry about the creaking, it's my shoulder. That could be my brain thinking, I don't know. Yeah, I've got all my steel down here because there's a control box for a set of Christmas lights. So this framework has a big angel on it. Just have the camera tripod over here. So this framework, even though it's all aluminium tubing and flat bar aluminium, there's a rope light on there which you may not be able to see at the moment. Oh, you might do. That's some of the rope lighting down here. Forms the shape of the angel. But yeah, it comes in, oops, there we are, comes in, down and back up and around. That control box just does all the different lighting sequences. So comes Christmas, that'll be December 2019. This will be nothing but a sea of lights, and all this will be tidied up of course. All this crap gets moved. That rail car will be covered over as well, so but this is just some of what I am able to achieve. So for those of you into model railways, miniature railways, I literally do model from Z to 7¼ inch. Thank you for your time and patience in watching my boring video. Hope you get some entertainment value out of it, or certainly get some entertainment value out of me, I don't know. If you can't laugh at yourself, who can you laugh at? The government! Oh well. Enjoy yourselves. Catch ya.